Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here. Hoping that you are having an unbelievable week to this point. We're in the midway part of the week. Hopefully, you are experiencing progress in your life and whatever it is you're striving for. Remember, success is defined by the progressive pursuit of a worthy goal. So no one else defines success for you but you. We have some universal ideas or designations for success. People can be financially successful, and that's what most people look at. And definitely, you want to be in a place financially where you can enjoy life, where you can engage in living life and not existing and not simply surviving. So, yes, financial stability, financial independence, financial freedom should be a part of your goal. But also, you should want to be successful in your marriage, successful in parenting, successful in being an impactful force in the world around you. Success is about taking the gifts you have been given by the Creator and moving into places and spaces where you can make your presence felt. That's going to be the legacy you leave behind. The legacy you leave behind is going to be what kind of difference you made in this world. Nobody is going to really care, except maybe superficial people, about how many cars you had, where you lived at, how many trips you took. All that stuff is something you get to enjoy as an ancillary benefit of being an impactful person in this world. But at the end of the day, it's going to be about how many lives you touched, how many lives you changed, what type of representation and testimony of faith did you become in this world. And that's what I want to talk to you about. People talk about changing their results, changing their life all the time. And they look for ways to do it. And so some people talk about the successful habits of people. And some people talk about the different principles of business, the different principles of finance and all that stuff. Like all that stuff is great. And it's all something to be learned. But I'll tell you something. You can look at all that. You can read all the books. You can sit up and go to all the seminars. You can do all that. But if you don't develop the capacity to change your mind, you can never change your situation, because your mind is the origin of your entire reality. Where you are now is because of how you were thinking months ago, years ago, decades ago. And you have to be able to change your thinking, change your mindset, change your focus, change how you view things in order to change your situation and change your reality. It all begins in the mind. Once you start to change your mind will change your habits. Your habits will change your behavior. Your behavior will change your results and your outcomes. But you're going to have to be willing to change the mind. But I want to get off into something about mental transformation. And I want to talk to you about the greatest tragedy of life. I think that our inherent fear of death has created a veneer or a veil, so to speak, that covers the true reality and nature of our existence. And what do I mean by that? I think that we are so consumed with death that, number one, we see death as the greatest tragedy of the human experience, but we also work so very hard thinking about what happens after death. I think so many of us have become so enthralled with the idea of the quest for heaven that we have become useless on earth and thereby wasted an opportunity given to us here to be impactful. I think that we are losing sight of things. So when people ask me what the greatest tragedy is, the greatest tragedy is not death. The greatest tragedy is not death. The greatest tragedy is life without purpose. The greatest tragedy is to have been on this earth and lived and not left a mark, not made an impact, not touched lives, not changed lives, not have been a catalyst to change the world. That's the greatest tragedy, to have been but not become. You got to understand that you don't want your entire life to simply be an experiment of a life lived in fantasy. And people talk about what fantasy. Well, see, I see life in two big polarities, fantasy and vision. And they say, well, what's the difference between fantasy and vision? Fantasy is an idea of what is, of what could be. The fantasy is the idea of this ultimate existence, but it doesn't have a connection to purpose. It doesn't have a connection to destiny. It doesn't have a connection to potential. So fantasy paralyzes because it becomes a daydream. But a vision is connected to purpose. A vision is connected to potential. And see, when you discover your purpose, you unleash your potential. And in that, you move yourself towards your destiny. It is understanding your purpose that will push you forward. It's understanding your purpose that will explain your pain. It's an understanding your purpose that will wake you up in the morning in those times when it gets hard and it gets tough and you don't have all the answers. When you have a purpose, you are driven. The vision is attainable. The fantasy isn't. You know, years ago, decades ago, I was a young man, and there's a man coming to a city that I happened to be in at the time. And this man will ultimately become a highly influential person in my development and in my life. But at the time, I had heard about him, and I wanted to go see him, and I had no idea what I was in for. His name was Dr. Miles Monroe. And this was the early 90s. And I'm a young man. I'm trying to make some moves in life, and I'm trying to discover myself. I'm trying to find my connectivity with God. I'm trying to discover some things. And I go there, and he gives this unbelievable speech about why men need vision and dreams. And I'm like, oh, man. But there's a point in his speech where he says, do you know where the wealthiest place on the planet is? You know, and I've heard a number of people say this since, especially Les Brown, but the first place I heard it was Dr. Miles Monroe. And he said the wealthiest place on the planet is the cemetery. And I'm thinking, my mind's going 100 miles an hour, and I'm thinking, I think I know where he's going with this. He said, in the cemetery, there are books never written, paintings never painted, music never heard, businesses that never opened. And then I started to think, and before I move on, I want to tell you something. There's someone listening to this, watching this in some format of on some platform, and you've had a business idea for 20 years, and yet you're still employed by someone else because you've refused to step out on faith and trust God for the vision that you have. You haven't acted on it. You haven't touched your purpose. You haven't unleashed your potential. And the sad thing is, if you don't do it, you'll just become another cautionary tale of living life unfulfilled. One of the things that I've done over my life is I've spent a lot of time with people who are transitioning. And I saw some real unique things that really caught my attention. I saw what people go through when they know the time is near. And what I learned is there are several types of people, three primarily that I want to talk to you about. The first person is the person that went out and took life by the horns, the person that went out and took risks, the person that went out and made up in their life that they're going to get everything that life has for them. They're not leaving anything on the table. They're not taking anything to the grave with them. They refuse to contribute to the wealth of the cemetery. You know what? When you watch them, there's a sense of fulfillment. There's almost like an embracing of the moment. It's like they go out with their head up and their chest out. There's no fear. There's no trepidation. There's no uncertainty. They lived. They came here and they did what they were sent here to do. Then there's the person that is uncertain about what it all meant, and there's this emptiness, and that there's this darkness, and there's this vague and vast void. And they're there because they never got it. Then there's the person who knows they didn't do what they were sent here to do. That person right there has a level of fear, a level of anxiety. There's no peace in the transition. They lived, but they didn't live. They were here, they existed, they survived for a while, but they didn't live. I tell you again, the greatest tragedy in the human experience isn't death. It's life without purpose. It's life without impact. It's just having been here. You had potential, but you didn't activate it. You didn't actualize it. You didn't act on it. You didn't take what you were given and you didn't multiply it through engagement. That's on you. You don't want to be that person. A matter of fact, the reason I'm here this morning is that I want to inspire you. I want to empower you. I want you to die on E. You hear me say that almost after almost every video. You hear me say I live my life on full so that I die on E. And it sounds cliche-ish, but what I'm saying is I don't plan on taking any of this potential to the grave. I don't plan on taking any of the wealth of my potential to the grave. I'm going to live my life on full and I'm going to die on E, and the world will be better because I was here, because that's why I'm here. I'm not here just to exist. I'm not here just to be another number. I'm here to do something beyond what is normal, beyond what is average, beyond what is expected and anticipated. Because in doing so, I change lives. In doing so, I inspire lives. In doing so, I encourage people. In doing so, I elevate the ideas, mindsets, and expectations of people who are about to give up. My presence has purpose, and so does yours. The question is, are you living in your purpose? Are you standing up and walking in your purpose? Or have you bought into the lie of being average? Have you bought into the concept of just existing? Have you spent the vast majority of your time simply surviving? It's time to tap into your purpose. It's time to rise up and live out your life in the way that it was intended to be. You should be living life at the level of your design. You were not designed for mediocrity. You were not designed to be average. You were not designed just to exist. There's something on the inside of you that the world needs. I dare you to walk out into purpose. No, it ain't easy. Yes, it's going to be tough. You're going to get some bumps and some bruises, but you're going to leave a legacy that will speak of you long after you're gone. That's what my life is about. Yes, I want to live in a nice place. Yes, I want to drive nice cars. Yes, I want to experience some of the benefits of my hard work and labor. But at the end of the day, none of that matters if I don't touch lives. See, that's the part that lives on and speaks. I told myself one time, I said, how can I touch lives beyond my reach? I said, I got to stop simply affecting people and start infecting people. And somebody says, what does that mean? I said, when you are infectious, it means you are contagious. It means that whatever you have and you're passing on is contagious. You're literally passing something that can be passed. So when I touch life, I infect people with passion. I infect them with faith. I infect them with high standards. I infect them with high expectations. Why? Because they'll run into people I'll never meet and they'll infect them. There are some people out there carrying an infection that I initiated that has changed their lives and they will never meet me. That's legacy. What legacy are you creating is the question. What legacy of are you creating? Are you living your life in a way that is so powerful and infectious that just being in your presence will change a person's life? If not, you need to start walking in purpose. Start walking in purpose. And as I close, one of the most common questions that I get is, Dr. Wallace, how do I know what my purpose is? How do I find my purpose? How do I discover? I don't know where to start. Discovering your purpose is a process. And I teach my clients the process of purpose. And what I decided to do a few weeks ago, you may have already heard me say it, but what I decided to do a few weeks ago, I started to open up and share with the world what I share with my clients. And I made it accessible to anybody who truly wants it. And this is one of those things that I don't think will happen often, simply because, but I'll see how it goes. But this Saturday at noon Central Standard Time, you can come sit with me via Zoom, and I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step process of discovery as it pertains to your purpose. There will be a Q&A session afterwards, and we will engage. This will be live. This will not be a video. This will be live. And I have made it accessible to anybody who is serious about discovering their purpose. It's $19.99. The link is in the description box. If you want to register, click the link and register. It's noon this Saturday. It will be almost directly following one of the episodes of one of my show productions that comes on in the morning on Saturdays. As soon as I finish that, I will be getting up, geared up, getting ready to engage everyone. This is an opportunity for you to step outside of the boundaries of where you've been. And it begins with changing how you view the world, changing your thinking, changing your focus, moving in a certain direction. I ask people all the time, do you not want to know why there's such a high level of uncertainty in your life? Do you want to know why you can never seem to really hit the mark, and you're trying and you're going? Do you want to know why? Because you don't know where you're going. You don't have a sense of destiny. Why? Because you don't have a sense of purpose. And then I give them an analogy. I say, look at the biggest wall in front of you and imagine you have a dart in your hand. Now imagine on that wall, there's a 1-inch circumference that represents your purpose and your destiny. And in that particular 1-inch circumference is unlimited potential, unlimited power, unlimited reality, and you live the best life possible. Now imagine that you are throwing the dart without knowing where that circle is, that 1-inch circumference is. What is the chance of you hitting that circle? I mean, it's very, very, very low chance that you're going to hit that circle. The truth is, when you know where the circle is, the circumference is so small that you may not hit it, but I guarantee you're going to be close and you're going to be headed in the right direction. But here's the thing. Now imagine that that's just one wall, but there are 4 walls in that room. And you can throw that dart at any one, but that circle is only on one wall. That's the power of knowing your purpose and knowing your destiny. You identify your direction. And once you identify your direction, you begin to move in your direction and you begin to see things happen. Providence starts to unveil itself. People start to move on your behalf. You start getting phone calls and emails you never got before. Why? Because now you're walking in purpose and you're stepping outside of the bounds of the restrictions of your mind, and you're starting to expect things that are better and greater than you ever imagined, because that's what you're here for. Better future. There is a link in the description box of this video. I'm not sure if you can see it while it's going, but once the video is off, there's a link in the video. Matter of fact, I tell you what I can do. I can also put it in the chat. So I've just added that link to the chat. You go to that event, you sign up, register. You're going to receive an email with the link on Friday evening. The link for the actual Zoom. And we're starting promptly at noon. So I'm asking that everybody show up 5 to 10 minutes before time so that you don't miss anything. I'm going to come in, I'm going to get started. And we're going to get into the discussion of purpose. And I'm telling you, I tell people, like, you've heard me say this so many times, your purpose will, there's so many things you've been through in this life, and it didn't make no sense to you because you weren't acquainted with your purpose. You were asking why, because you weren't acquainted with your purpose. Oh, but when you become acquainted with your purpose, it will ignite a passion in you that you never felt before. It will build you up and give you an impetus that you never experienced before. And then it will even explain your pain. That's why I went through that. That's why I had to experience that. Then all of a sudden, something that you felt was meant to destroy you, you realize was meant to make you stronger. And now you start to grow. You start to grow. And you start to feel the power of the purpose inside of you, planted there by the designer for you to do great things. That's what I want everybody to experience. So many people walking around so freaking tired of this life that they're already reaching for heaven. You are so enthralled in your quest for heaven that you have become absolutely useless here on earth, and you missed your purpose. You missed your opportunity. There's a reason you're here. It's time to conquer it. I'm challenging everybody. Come out there. I mean, if you can't invest $19.99 in discovering something that will absolutely change your life, you don't want it. And it's okay. If you don't want it yet, that's okay. But you can't be sitting around knowing you're not happy and have an opportunity to change your life and not do it. Before I get off, there's something in my spirit that's telling me there's at least one person on here that wants to work with me. And I didn't put that in the box because that wasn't what this was about, but I'm not going to get off of here without addressing it. Real simply, email me directly at ceo@rickwallacephd.link and talk to me and tell me what it is you want to accomplish in this life. And I'll tell you how I can help you. There's at least one person that is going to see this video. I'm almost certain they're already watching because I can feel it. And if you don't understand the power of resonant energy, there are going to be some lessons coming along with that. Some of you have the wrong energy and you're drawing the wrong people around you, and you can't understand why things are happening. You got to change that energy. We're going to talk about that too. But I'm going to get off of here. As I always say, I live my life on full, so that when I leave this place, I die on E. And I'm going to challenge every last one of you to do the same thing. On that note, I am out of here. You be